whole file input format. What is a whole file input format? What does it mean? So the whole file input format is nothing but you have some data, it should not be split. It should not split, and it means that it should not process by multiple mappers. It has to process by single mapper. It has to process by single mapper. How we can do that? How we can do that? Any idea? So what are the methods we have discussed in custom input format? I mean some of the input formats. So do you have any idea how we can achieve that? I have an input file. Let's say I have something called Amazon data. It should not be processed by multiple files, multiple mappers. It has to process by a single mapper. Any idea how can we do that? Any idea? Based on the input formats what we have seen, based on the what are the input formats we have seen, do you have any idea?
Using combine.
Combine? No, combine anyway again it splits, right? So the combine means what we are doing in combine file input format, we are combining all the files into single file. We are combining all small files into single file, and we'll be having a minimum and maximum input splits, and it will be considering multiple files as a single split, and we are launching that, if you remember, right? In a
Yeah.
combined file input format, there are multiple mappers can launch. Okay, let's look at here. I'll show you something. So what kind of scenarios when we'll go for the combined file input format? Sorry, a whole file input format. The whole file input format, we will go, we will go when you want to process a file with a single mapper, when you don't want to launch a multiple mappers, when you don't want to launch a multiple mappers, so that time we will use combined file input format, whole file input file format, the whole file input format. Let's look at what is that class for the whole file input format. So if you remember, last class we discussed about there is no whole file input format. There is no whole file input format. We have to override. We have to create our own input format for that, and we need to override one method. What is that method? So if you guys remember, there is a method called isSplittable. Do you guys remember that? There is a method called isSplittable. In input format, there is a method called isSplittable. So you have to write your own custom input format, and you need to override that method return false. Return false. If you return the false, it means whenever you use this input file format, your file will not be splitted into multiple mappers. Even though the data is distributed across the multiple machines, wherever the mapper is launching, the whole file, the copies will be, uh, it will be moved to the specific file where you can launch the mapper. Do you remember this point? Do you remember the method, isSplittable method? I don't know why it's taking this much time to start. So there is something called isSplittable method. what you need to do, we just need to override that. We need to override that. Let's say this is my input file and it has to process by a single mapper. When it has to process by a single mapper, I need to write my custom input format class. Wholefile input format extends your input format, and you need to override. There is a method called override. There is a method called protected boolean is splittable where you will return false. That's it. That's it. You have to write your own class extending by input format class, and you just need to return is splittable false. I don't know, there are so many things are running, that's why my Eclipse is slow. Look at guys here. Yep. It's too much slow today. Let me close some of the things. Let me close Tableau. Okay, so let's look at this method. This is a little slow today, I don't know why. Maybe because of, see, too much of slow it is. Yep, let's look at this input format. Splittable method. Splittable method. You just need to override and say return that instead of true, if you return false, that method is, that input format is whole file input format, because your input splits are getting splitted based on this method. Okay, this method says that whether it's splittable or not. This method says that whether it is splittable or not. If you say it is true, the file is splittable, and based on that the number of how many splits and all it is getting splitted. If you return this as a false here, your file will not be splitted into multiple pieces. The whole file will be processed by a single mapper. The complete file, whether it's a 1 GB file or 10 GB file, doesn't matter. The whole file will be processed by single input format, single input split, or it will be single split and single mapper will be launched and processed. You don't have something called whole file input format as a class. What you need to do, you need to take your own class, and you need to write your own. It's very simple. What you need to do, you need to write your own input format by extending the file input format, and you need to return splittable is false, and record reader and all, you know that. So we can go with our line record reader. You can go with your own custom record reader if you want. You can go with that. If you want to go with your own custom record reader, or if you want, you can go with an existing. This is also written by, we written this. This is not given by this is not given by a framework. This is we written. We written. Understand? Understand, right? Any doubts? So in the driver class, what you will do, you'll go to in the driver class. In the driver class, you will set, in the driver class will set, this is my input format. You take the whole file as input format. This is like sequence file input format. And here, no, not this. In the driver class, we need to specify, but something we, let me select my project. Are you guys clear about the whole file input format? It's a very pretty simple one. So if you don't want to split your file into multiple splitters, and it has to be processed by single mapper. So because of that, it has to process by single mapper. Not this one, it's Java. Where is our input formats? Whole file input format. This is the class where you extend the class, extend it, and you write splittable method. This is the main important for that, to make it a whole file as an input. Whole file has to be processed by single mapper. You have to return this. Clear? Any doubt about a whole file input format? Anila, Debashish, Madhu, Nagi. So very simple. You need to extend a class file input format, and you need to override a method is splittable, and you need to return false. That's it. Whether you need to write it or not is up to you. And because here I'm just writing to make sure that we can also override a record reader. So here I'm writing my own record reader by extending the record reader. I'm writing my init method next to key value method, whatever it is. Okay. So let's move to the next input format, which is called multiple inputs. Multiple inputs. What is a multiple inputs? It is not a separate class. It is a separate use case. It is a use case. Let's say it is a use case. Let's say, let me clear this. Let's see this. Let me explain this. I have something called, there is a file 1. There is a file 1 which is a text file. There is a file 2 which is a key value. There is a file 3 which is sequence file. Let's assume that. And I want to process these three different files. I want to process these three different files, and I want to process these three different files with the different mappers, and I want to join them based on some key at the reducer level. Based on the key, I want to join them at the reducer level. How to join? How to join? It's a very pretty simple, because these are the different files. These are the different files, different file input, different type of the files. What I need to do, first I need to process with the different mappers. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? These are the different files. I need to process with the different mappers. Correct? So what I will do, I will write a different mappers for different type of the files. It can be very big file also. So I'm trying to say here, it can be very big file, but Still, I need to process because it's text input format. I cannot write a single mapper to process all these three files. I cannot write a single mapper to process all these three files. Why? Because this format is different, this format is different, this format is different. If I write a single mapper, my logic is based on the text input, or my logic is based on the key value input, or my logic is based on the sequence file input, but other files may get impacted. So that's why I have to write three different inputs, three different mappers which will process differently. Three mappers differently. And I need to take them all of three into single mapper. All of three into single mapper. How to do? Look at guys here. I have something called student input, student school information. I have something called student details and date of birth and all. I have something called student marks. I have something called student marks. Let's assume that all three are different all three are different input types. All three are different input types, but here I have taken the all of the text input format only, but you may do with the different file inputs also. This is a text file, and this mapper is key value pair. This mapper can be nline or sequence, whatever the file input format. If you see here, I have written three different mappers: mapper 1, mapper 2, mapper 3, right? Then after that I have my reducer, where will I combine this, join all the three mappers. How the driver class looks here, the more important thing is we need to understand our driver class. If you look at our driver class, what I'm doing here, there is something called multiple inputs dot add input path, and you have to pass your driver class object, path of it, and the type of the input format you are using. Because here, as I said, here I'm using all three or same text input format. So you can have a different input formats. You can do an experiment on this. So three different input formats and three different mapper classes. Three different mapper classes. All these three are the different mappers will get processed, and all the output will move to your reducer, your reducer, your reducer, and the final output will be emitted. The final output is emitted, but you want to check whether it is getting processed by three different mappers or not. You can have a reduce the number of reduced tasks at 0. You can have a number of reduced tasks at 0, that you can test it. Okay, you can test it. Understand guys? It's also pretty simple one. When you have a multiple inputs, when you have a use case, like say some input format you're getting from the text file, some input format you're getting the different format, and other input format you're getting not only 3, it can be 2, it can be 4, it can be 5, but based on the use case, based on the number of files you need to join, those many things has to be specified here. So here you don't need to specify specifically set mapper class. You don't need to do that. Why? Because we're already doing here. You need to do a set reducer class. You need to do a set reducer class, and if you have a combiner, you need to do a combiner. If you have a partition, you have to do a partition. So all other things you need to specify. Clear guys? Madhusudan, what is a multi-file input format? What is a multi-input format? When you have a multiple mappers, you have to go in this way. You have to specify with the different mappers, and in the reducer class you have to uh, you have to show them, you have to show them into multi-inputs dot add input path, and you need to specify the your driver class name. You need to specify the what type of input it is, and you need to specify what is the which mapper has to handle that file. Which mapper has to handle that file we will use by using the multi-input format. DB input format is nothing but there is a different file of input format. So let me show you that as well. Are you guys clear about the multi-input format? Are you guys clear about the multi-input file format? Anila, Madhu, Nagi, Debashish, Srikant, Sulba, right? Let me show you something. Okay, so the DB input format will not come along with this package. We need to download a separate jar for it, and we can. But I didn't try it. To be frank, guys, there is another format which is called DB input file format. Not only that, there are some more input formats which are given by the third-party libraries. Okay, so whatever the input formats we have discussed, those are come along with your Mapreduce. Those are come along with your Mapreduce. Clear, guys? And each whatever the input formats we have seen, there is a respective output formats also. Whatever the input formats we have seen, there are respective output formats as well. So we don't need to discuss about the output file formats. They are by default, they can take based on the output we are emitting. But um, there is one output file format. We will discuss about more about that, because that is a little different from other input formats. That's called multi-output format. That is called multi-output format. Let's try to look at what is a multi-output format. What are the things we have seen? Yes, I think, yeah, this library added in my, no, this library comes along with this. No, Hadoop 2 it comes. I think in Hadoop 1 also it comes things. You can look at here, there is something called lib.db. Um, yeah, DB input format. DB input format. Where you can look at this. Where you can look at this. DB input split. DB input split. I think how it will connect and all, I don't know how it will connect to the database. I think it will be having the all the connection. Okay, we need to specify all the drivers. Good. So you need to connect to the table, and you need to connect the number of files, and it has a separate configuration as well. Yes, guys, there is a DB input format in the HUD Mapreduce. You can directly connect using, yeah, it is, yes, get connection, auto commit, transaction. Okay, yeah, you can also connect to the database. So which database you are connecting, you can directly connect to the database. You can read the data from the table using database input format. Yes, it is there, it is possible. And you have a separate input form splitter also. So how to split and all, it has its own split. It has own split mechanism. DB writables, DB configuration. Yeah, you can have some different for the MySQL for the different reader. For Oracle there is a different reader. Okay. Yeah, DB input format also there. It comes along with your Mapreduce framework only. I think you no need to go with a different jar. I thought it's a different jar because I didn't do any experiment before. Uh, but I know it. There is input format to connect to a database, but I thought it's a different jar. But no, it's not a different jar. It is comes along with your Mapreduce only. So you have something input jar here. You can look at here. DB input format, DB output format, DB writable. Yes, guys, there is some input formats where you can look into DB input format. But let's look at today. Let's talk about multi-output format. Multi-output format. When to go with multi-output format? When we need a multi-output format? Let's try to understand that first. So multi-output format is, let's say, as of now, as of now, whether you have processed a mapper, whether you have processed with a reducer, or the final output is comes as a part files. As of now, the output file is coming as a part files. Yes or no, guys? We are getting output in the form of part files. Part hyphen m hyphen 000 or part hyphen r hyphen 000. Some part files we are getting, right? So what we can do, I don't want to get the part files, but I want a specific name for each file. Let's say, I'm processing a student. It should come as a student dot student hyphen r hyphen like that. When I process the student file, let's say it should come as a student file. Let's say I'm processing employee data. I'm processing employee data. I'm processing employee data. In that, let's say I have three genders: male, female, something where you have a special characters like so by mistake while entering the data they might have missed the gender, or they might have given the special characters that are, apart from they might have given let's say female one like the text some by mistake, but because some human is entering by mistake they have given male one female one like that they have given. Okay, so now I want to generate output of employee based on the gender. I need to generate the output file format or different kind of outputs. So we know that there is something called partitioner. We can achieve through partitioner, but in the partitioner the final output comes such a way that part hyphen r hyphen 000 and a part hyphen r hyphen 001 are different part files will come. But I don't want to be look at this part file. I want it in like male. I want it in a female. I want special characters, a special name for it. How will I do that? How will I achieve that? There are multiple APIs for it. I mean multiple methods in a multi-output format. There is something called multi-output format. There is something called multi-output format which has its own write method. You can go ahead and do that. Let's look at guys here. Let's look at here. I have something called multi-output format job, multi-output format test. So this is some sample data, so I'm not going to show that. It's nothing. It's a pretty simple. Okay, let me expand this. What I'm doing, I'm taking input for, so there are multiple ways you can handle your code guys. So based on the your Java skill you can handle. What I'm doing normally, I used to write here only in the file input format dot set input formats on job and a new path of like that I'm taking. So instead of that, I already taken the input directory, output directory, and I'm giving them here. Okay, so let's look at here. This is the output format I'm setting differently, different output format, different output format. If you look at your mapper, if you look at mapper, I'm writing my setup method. The setup method, what I'm doing, just look at guys here. This is a little important thing. So I'm creating multiple outputs, amounts, multiple outputs, amounts, and I'm initializing here. Nothing. In setup method, I'm initializing. The setup method is mainly meant for initializations, or before executing your map method, something has to be executed. So I have written the setup method uh, where I have assigned your multi-output format. Then coming to a map method, long writable text, and you are taking the, you can make it as a single file. You don't need to do this thing. Still it will work. Still it will work. Okay. Go inside the map method. Go inside the map method. If you look at here, if you closely observe how I am emitting the output, how I am emitting the output. Am I emitting the output by using context.write? Am I emitting the output using the context.write? If you look at other examples, word count, what are the examples we have seen, how we emitted the output, context.write. But if you are using a multi-output format, if you are using multiple output format, you need to specify multiple outputs dot write method. There is no context dot write here. There is no context dot write here. So how I am emitting? I am emitting such a way that multiple outputs dot write, where I'm specifying my file name as errors. You can emit value or whatever you want emit. So that's a different. So with multi outputs, you have a different APIs. You have a different write methods. Look at here. You can take a object, value, and string based output path. Look at guys here. Write. You can take a key, value, and what type of string. I mean, based on your output path. Like you want it in a let's say you want it in a form of a, mail hyphen r, that you will specify here. There is something called, you can specify the name of the output directory, or name of the output file, and a key value. And there is something where you can specify the name of the file, key value, and you can specify the based on the output path. There are different write methods. You can choose which write method you want. Based on that, the output file will be emitted. Here I'm using the first type of the API, or first type of the method, which my file should be errors and actuals. Errors and actuals. Because this is my map method. This is my map method. I'm writing map output map out dot write methods. Suppose if you have a reducer, you need to write that into your reducer, not in the multi mapper, because your reducer will be final output. Your reducer has to be multi-output, not the mapper. If you have a map, this is a little, little thing we need to understand. Let's say if you have a map only job, you need to write your multi, I'll say multi-output dot write this method in mapper only. Suppose if I have a map and reduce, I have to write multi-output format dot write method in reducer, because reducer is the final output. No, this is a little one we need to remember, guys. If you have a map only job, you will write your multiple output dot write in the mapper. If it is a map and reduce job, you have to write your multi-output dot write method in reducer. Let's look at guys here. There is another example. Oh, this is context dot write only. This is a map and reduce. This is a map only. This is a map only job which I have shown you in this example. There is something called map and reduce. This is map and reduce. You can look at here. Map method I'm emitting as a context dot write only, but in the reducer I'm taking multi outputs. In the reducer I'm taking multi outputs. Look at guys here, MOS, because you can say multi outputs dot write. You can take whatever the name you like for your object. So my fruit output name, I'm taking key as a null and value as a complete value, whatever the value I'm emitting, and my file name is a fruit. And other one is a color. Let me execute this one. You'll get a clear idea. But I need the sample input file. So let me get the location of this. This is the location of this. the location of this. You can see the location of this. This is the location of this. We can have to look at the file how it looks, or you can open with the text editor also. So not a problem, you can open with the text editor also. It will get open. Apple red, orange black. Orange, how it will be black, orange will be orange. Banana yellow. Blackberry black. Mango yellow. Sixth one you can take green apple green. Green apple green. Let's save this file. I need the path of this, okay, because I'm going to give it as input. I'm going to give an output as something different. Look at this. Yes, I need the file name also, right? Multiple output sample data. Right click, run as, run configuration. Double click on here, go to arguments. Okay, already path, including path, I got it. I can say slash user slash local, or I can say home Hadoop one. I can say user slash local slash multi out slash apply, run, apply and run. Let's look at the output of this, how it is running. Number of splits you can look at here. Number of splits one only because it's very small file. Let's look at here slash user local multi out, and you got the two different files. So this is an empty this is empty file. We can suppress this, not to worry about it. You can look at here these two files. You got color or and fruit or files. Instead of part file, it is emitted with so colors red, orange, yellow, black, yellow, green, and you can see fruits apple, orange, banana, blackberry, green apple. You can look at this. Okay, here if you see the part files are not the part-r files, and it's a fruit-r files. It's a fruit-r files. And this file contains, I don't know, I think nothing will be containing in this. Maybe something, why it is coming as a part-r file. You can look at it, not a problem, you can look at it. We may doing something different, or we may, I think it is, I can look at that, guys, why it is coming. We can look at that and we can process it. Okay, clear about that? Are you guys clear, guys? Multi-output format. That's it about multi-output format. So you guys can do uh, do an experiments by using this code. The code is already available in the drive, or the code is already available. I think it's already available in the drive. It's already shared with you guys. And if anyone does not have an access, please let me know. I will give an access for that. And here this is also a multi-output format example, but multi-output in the text output format and the sequence file output format. You can give an output in any format. So one is in here, I'm giving a text out. Errors, all errors I'm giving in the text, all actuals I'm giving in the sequence. You can give like that also. All the text files, all the output I'm giving in the text format, which are having error, which are having actual data, I'm putting into sequence file format. You can emit in the different format. Okay, so that's it, guys. That's it for today. Uh, so we'll continue the tomorrow class. Okay.